Welcome to Three Blind Mice, the sexiest voices on podcast land. And here they are.
After that intro, this is the first, this is a test run, of course. Do you guys have any grievances you guys can air out now? Like, as far as, how you feel about all this?
Yeah, this signal can go itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited about this podcast.
Woo!
I feel that this is a good way to reach out to as many people as possible, especially given the current climate and condition of our country. So, hey, I say let's just get this done and let's have a good time with it. Not too much fun.
We love you, Ian. All right, everybody settle down, please. No hecklers.
This is gonna be great editing material.
Edit my book.
You can't say that on live TV. This is a family-friendly show.
Richie, do you have any thoughts about starting the podcast?
Even a TV.
Well, I want to thank our sponsors, PBS Kids. No, I mean, we're here, and we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to say, different opinions, different point of views, and I think that's what needs to happen. I feel that there's a lot that hasn't been talked about and a lot that hasn't really been publicized. And, we are on that mission to bring to the light a lot of things that our community has talked about for so long, but no one outside of the community has really understands, the severity or how serious some of these issues are, or just what our daily lives is, because there's so much stereotyping and generalizing in our community, just like any other community. And we're here to break down some barriers, man. That's what we're here.
Mm-hmm.
We're young, we're hung.
Now
we're here.
I'm really gonna have to edit you out at some point, but yeah, no.
Gotta talk to HR about this.
In all seriousness, to me, we don't have an HR. To me, in all seriousness, I am hoping that we can definitely reach out to people more and stuff like that, explaining severities and other reasons around the community, why the community is the way it is, the foundations around the community. I hope to get into all of that. What do you guys hope to cover in this podcast?
All right, since I'm the diva, I'll go first. I believe what is really for people to really understand, or at least get a better picture of, our daily struggles, and just to understand, help other people who might be going through certain things to, maybe they need some guidance, or just to be able to know that there's people out there who are going through similar things. And maybe we got some solutions that might be helpful for them. Maybe we got some answers that we have found for questions that I have. And just not only for the visually impaired and the blind community, but bring, other disability groups as well as non-disabled people, just anybody who's struggling through life. And, create a community, bring people together, regardless of, whatever gender, race, and that doesn't matter. This is we want to make a safe environment. Sure, we like to joke around, especially me, but the one thing that is serious is our message and our purpose thing, which is to give guidance, give hope, and bring a little light to some people, especially through everything that we're going through at this point in time in life. Ian, back to you.
Mm.
Well, I know my friend here just said, I know he said we want to highlight struggles, but I mean, in all honesty, we do want to just put emphasis on just the life itself of being, visually impaired, fully blind, or whatever conditions there may be, because in life you do have just struggles. Both, it's not just solely about one struggle. it's literally about just the whole spectrum, where the good, the bad, the ugly, and then the just plain unusual. So I do hope that during this podcast, we're able to enlighten you on all the spectrum of just, the life that we lead. And also, like what Rick said, we are trying to reach out to people. I know some of the solutions, they may seem like just obvious to some people, but in truth, there's some of them, it took years, and it took years before actually, fully understanding what these solutions are, like, looking for help, going to the right people for help. Some of this stuff did not just kick in immediately when disabilities kicked in or impairments. And even now, there's even, certain struggles that, like, we still go through to this day that we have yet to fully understand until later down the line. But I do know that there's others out there who do need guidance, like, in the moment. And, rather than just waiting for them to either find a solution or find a particular guide or whatever, you have the three of us here who are, we have individuals, we have our own backgrounds and all that. We can probably, show the way, or at least offer some tips or some helpful advice to people out there. Because despite how different we are, I know we are America, we different beliefs, different, viewpoints, from all kind of categories. But the fact remains, there are some universal truths that we still share. There are some, we still feel pain. We still, we know the feelings of, going through the good times and the bad times. Regardless of what the specific details to those are, we still go through the emotions. And that is a connection point that we all can honestly tip into. So I honestly do hope that this podcast really brings us all together, regardless, disability, no disability, impairment, no impairment. Like, we all have something we can bring to this table, and we are going to be providing that space for everyone to be heard. And, everyone's words do matter. Jesus?
That was very, very well put. Other than highlighting the struggles, we hope to also highlight the good aspects within the community. The people who are taking that step forward to do what they want to do in life without having the hindrance or having the quote-unquote stigma behind having a visual disability. I know for a fact, like, all my life, I have my own story as to what I deal with. But before we get to that, I want to ask both of you, can you two tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Diva.
Well, hey. Well, my name is Ricardo. I go by Rick, Richie, Ricky, short guy, whatever the hell you want to call me. I don't care. I'm 20, about to turn 27. I've been visually impaired my entire life. I was born with a detached cornea. At a young age, probably till like 12 years old, I want to say, I was wearing glasses. And then I stopped due to bullying. And pretty much my whole adolescence, until like 20, I want to say, when I started college, I started using a white cane. And right now I'm in the process of owning a guide dog. So that's a whole new process for me. But of course, just like anybody with the disability, that I share a similar experience of always feeling at a young age that I didn't fit in, feeling like I was a burden, feeling kind of lost, lonely, kind of wondering like, why was I born this way? And sometimes not even knowing what to do or what I was good at, having issues, sometimes help out which majors like crazy. When I got to college, I wanted to be a psychologist, then get into become a negotiator for the SWAT team. So I took criminal justice. Then finally, I made the decision after interning at an addiction that I wanted to become a motivational speaker. And a couple years later, when I brought up the whole podcast idea, because people would tell me like, you got a pretty strong voice, and you love to help people, you love to talk. I never shut the fuck up. And why not use it, for a good thing, like to reach out and, try to connect with people, especially people who are going through similar situations that I have. And, I bounced the idea off of Jesus and Ian, and we kind of got together here we are. And, we're running a Facebook support group page, in the process of training for a support group at Blind Services Association in downtown. And of course, running our first time ever podcast. So, got a lot of things going and a lot of things waiting on us. Ian?
Okay. Well, my name is Ian.
Woo!
On this podcast, it's referred to as Big I, but it's just Ian to keep it real. My background it's actually split in half. I did not lose my vision until I entered the 6th grade of middle school, to be honest. So there's a portion of my childhood spent with full vision, and then during a summer vacation, I came back from it. I ended up getting meningitis B, or bacterial meningitis. It was really bad. Had to deal with a lot of doctors and shots, a lot of screaming, and then eventually I was discharged. But then, like following a few weeks after that, I got viral meningitis again, and so I was right back in the hospital yet again. Now, after I got discharged from that, everything did seem fine for the most part, but it wouldn't be until years later, at least when 6th grade started, that my vision began to change, where my left eye, it started losing vision, and now it didn't have any at all. And then my right eye, the vision that it had got drastically decreased. It's not completely blind. It can still see, but it's drastically low, very, very low. And so because of that, my whole life, to be honest, it just turned completely upside down, a complete 360. I had to go to a whole different school than the one I was familiar with, and immerse myself in different cultures and different people, and honestly learn what it means to, be a dependent, but at the same time, self-advocate for myself. Because even in those times, I can assure you, not everybody was able to come through, and I could not just wait for the adults or even my fellow classmates to just come through. I had to deliver results on my end. So I learned what it meant to start self-advocating. And since then, I've literally been half blind for, I'm letting y'all know right now, I'm not good with math, but it's been a very long time, honestly. I want to say 12 years probably. Like 12 years, I've literally been half blind. And to be honest, I honestly see more of the world now than I did back when I had full vision. I was explaining this before to a conversation I was having with my mother, where she asked me about my condition, and I told her that I honestly have more vision now than I did back then. Although, and it seems ironic, but my eyes back when I had full vision was only used to the norm, because the same kind of environment with the same people, and the young people having the same dreams, not really desiring to dream bigger because it didn't fit the social stereotype and they wanted to be accepted. But it wasn't until I got out of that and started venturing out on my own, like away from like my brother, away from the family, away from just the usual neighborhood, my vision about just the world at large, it expanded dramatically. And through that, and since then, it's been a journey, like from high school to college. I'm proud to say that I did complete my associate's degree in science, but now I'm on a podcast, and I'm potentially in training to run a support group, because it took a while, but I had to have a sit down with myself and actually ask myself a question, just like, who am I and what am I here for? And rather than just going for a job and looking for a career and just finding something to do, I had to do some inner reflection and morally focus on who it is that I want to be rather than just what it is that I wanted to do. And I ran it by both Ricardo and Jesus that I want to be a person of impact. I want to be a man that lives on purpose and not just doing something just for the sake of, it makes a check or it just, it makes the pills get paid. It's like, I do want to have a life of impact and influence. And I do believe that this podcast for me is just one of the ways I can express that, where I can literally, touch the lives solely by my stories and my accounts as how I handle stress in life. And it can honestly shine a light to those who honestly can use it. Like, the lives that we live are not our own. The lives that we do have, they're food for someone else to feed on. And they will be able to get clarity in their own life if they see a template in front of them. So I do have very high expectations for this podcast and my co-workers. Well, they're not my co-workers. They're my friends. Me and my friends. That's what makes it better, is that I'm doing this with my friends and we all have a common goal. So I'm really pleased and honored to be of service to each and every one of you. Jesus.
Woo, Jesus.
So for me, I was born premature. It was around the 5 months mark, and I ended up getting glaucoma in my left eye due to the eyes just not forming properly. And in my right eye, at the time, it was fine until they started putting a blindfold on me just to keep me in the incubator and to not let the light in to damage my retinas. Unfortunately, the blindfold slipped off and it completely destroyed the retina in my right eye, leaving me completely blind in my right eye and having some vision in my left eye, but being very sensitive to light, as well as being nearsighted. I know for me, it was very, very difficult going to school those first few years, being the only person with a visual disability, having to learn differently. Like, just, it really hit me hard, especially seeing like the teachers who weren't trained to deal with people who had visual disabilities try their best to help me in my classes. I think going through that time, though difficult, it did help me to gain the mindset to adapt more to things. I would say decently. Other than the school life, there was also my family life, which it was filled with a lot of coddling, especially when I was little, because my mother and my grandparents saw me with a visual disability, and since that was the case for them, they protected me in a lot of aspects, and in a lot of aspects, it was necessary, but sometimes it wasn't. And those were the moments where I really started to try and do things on my own. It was very nerve-wracking at first. Over time, I eventually got the hang of it. I know I myself, before starting this podcast, was aiming for a degree in psychology. The degree was mostly focusing on industrial psychology, which is helping businesses out. I had a long moment of clarity with myself and my friends here. And when I figured that I wasn't the only one that wanted to stop what I was doing and try for something else, it made it easier to make the transition, especially with my friends, and not being alone. I'm glad that we are on our way to starting this podcast, and I hope that everything goes well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I just want to. These are our stories, and I'm pretty sure, as we go accumulating listeners, I'm pretty sure some of our stories will come way with your stories, and that's what we want this podcast to be. For all of us to share, all of us to connect, and it's already hard to fit in. A lot of us, are a little bit antisocial, a little bit, introverted, and this is an opportunity to talk about certain things that we can't talk about with people who are not in or haven't gone through our situations, and hopefully give each other kind of the guidance to going out and pursuing whatever you want to pursue in life. And we were talking about this, the three of us, before we started this podcast, that we all kind of came to a similar conclusion when it came down to our academic life, that we were going for careers, Ian and all three of us in different careers in school. And like what Jesus was mentioning, and Ian too, I did the same thing, stepping away from school after the 5 years and finishing up an associate's in social work. And I was on my way to going for a bachelor's, but I wasn't happy. And, this podcast is just one of the many projects I got in planned up just to adventure, go out and explore and discover more things that there are out there for us. Because sometimes we do end up settling because, we do see that wind, that ceiling pretty low, and we got to break through it. We got to break through these stereotypes and generalizations, these, limitations that our family, society, or even sometimes ourselves, we put on ourselves, as, our capability is defined by our disability, because it's a bunch of bullshit. And, and as we go along with every episode, we're going to be touching on a lot of different types of topics that, to us, and what we observe with other people in the visually impaired and blind community that we see affects us. But I really hope that our listeners also contribute, giving us ideas and bringing up things that they might feel is important for us to put out there in the public. And yeah, might just, get deep into it, have fun, learn, grow, connect, and, just learn from each other also, and be respectful towards each other. And yeah, man, I can't wait for it. And I'm really excited to work with Jesus and Ian, and I'm really excited to create this big project and this as well.
I also encourage our listeners, if they want to follow us more off of the podcast, I encourage you guys to look up our Facebook page. It's called Chicago Blind and Visually Impaired Support Group.
Group.
It's a private Facebook page, and you can be a member very easily. It's just a manner of answering some questions, and also just accepting the membership itself. And there we post up questions, survey questions where you guys can give your feedback into certain topics that we either have discussed here on the podcast or future discussions that we will have on the podcast, because your opinions as our listening audience is just as important to us, than, like, even more so than us, the three of us here, just conveying to you guys, for a certain amount of time. So we would really, really appreciate you guys to go look at our Facebook page. Again, it's a Chicago Blind and Visually Impaired Support Group. And we're still trying to get it off the ground a bit, but with your contribution, it will honestly be greatly appreciated. And we ourselves, me, Ricardo, and Jesus over here, we are members on that group, obviously, and we will be interacting with you guys as the fellow listeners. So it won't just be you commenting on somebody's social media page and they never getting back to you. Like, no, we will interact, and you'll also meet other people within that community that will also like to share their, stories or their experiences, and you can link up with them and broaden your connections and make friends or whatever. What we're trying to do is connect people one to another just through the art of the talking and sharing and being open with one another. So again, I encourage you guys to check out our Facebook page as well. Jesus.
We hope you enjoyed The Three Blind Mice. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.